in the woods.
I can't even lie, I really like doing those. I guess that's kind of like my thing now, because I seem to do that for every single video I sort of do. But yeah, this was the thing I was thinking of. I was like, this would be a really cool and actual hard battle for me to think about, because I can't lie, I think John Wick Solo's the majority of characters that are human and have any level of skill, just because his plot armor's ridiculous. But yeah, anyway, today I've picked an actual difficult one for me to try and get through. Rick Grimes versus Joel Miller. Obviously Joel Miller, because it's popular right now, and also it's actually a really hard one to pick against, because they're both really similar universes, although Joel Miller's is... The Last of Us universe is a lot harder in terms of the actual infected and zombies that they have to fight. Rick Grimes obviously has the easiest walkers to go against, the easiest zombies. But who's tougher? God knows. Let's go through it. So, the easiest way to go about this, I think, to get the most accurate of who's most likely to win, instead of just explaining it and going on a big old tirade on, Rick can do this, Joel can do that, it's easier just to break it down into their separate attributes and their own abilities. I think is the easiest. Like all those TikTok edits with the which character, low, mid, diff, combat skills, all that. Basically done that, but just long form and being able to break down each one and why I think that is. So yeah, Rick Grimes versus Joel Miller on all these stats: IQ, battle IQ, strength, speed, durability, weapons, plot armor and hacks, experience, aura, feats, and then one I didn't add in the last one, which I should have. And just so you know, John Wick would have won for this one. Skills, combat, melee. So basically all combat skills, hand to hand. Like what actual skills do they know if there are no weapons involved? Just straight hands. I'm talking real steel, real raw meat fists. So yeah, let's get straight onto it. So first up, just IQ. So general intelligence of the characters. And I think I have this quite easily. I think it goes to Joel Miller. Why do I think that is? Military background. And yeah, that's more or less the main argument for that. Is I think Joel's just generally smarter than Rick is. Rick is kind of just an average dude. So you can give him that level of intelligence just based on that. Survival instinct's obviously very high, but Joel has the exact same level of survival instinct, and above that, he's trained military and he knows a lot of stuff. Bro can sing, bro just has that intellect and just knows about shit. Like, when have you ever heard Rick talk about the goddamn stars, moon, and space? You ain't got that. We got Joel coming in like fucking Ghost Rider from the moon, mate. Bro knows his shit. So I'm gonna give general IQ and intelligence to Joel Miller. Now, actual combat and battle IQ, this is a little bit harder, but I think I'm going to give this to Joel. Why? Because Rick, I don't actually think has a very high battle IQ. I think he's quite stupid as a general just fighting character. He does have he sometimes has his moments. He's sometimes good with like tankards and shit to blow up. But to be honest, both these characters kind of will just get a weapon and go into a place and destroy everything. That's kind of why this is such a good battle. But on actual battle IQ, given like the tactics and just like, I don't know. I don't even know. I just think Joel thinks through his decisions far more when he's going into a place, whereas Rick is kind of turn up, defend a little bit, attack, and Joel's a little bit more sophisticated on go around the place, do some other things. I guess feats you could put up is like Rick when he's going and assassinating who he thinks is Negan and Negan's men in that outpost. That's like a good version of like battle IQ, and Joel is obviously just, I don't know, he's just smarter battle IQ wise, so I'm gonna give it to Joel. Physical strength, I actually have to put this that they're equal. I there isn't a way for me to not do this. I think both their feats kind of disallow that they're probably both the same strength-wise. I wouldn't put one above the other from what they've done. Like, one of them ain't benching 300 kg and the other's benching fucking 5. That ain't what's happening here. Their feats are kind of just moving random shit with other people, so you can't really decide whose strength is more. And yeah, I think they are probably just equal strength. And just a disclaimer that I haven't put through, this isn't like old Joel or old Rick, which you could still do, but these are the primes of both characters. So this is what, like season 4, 5 Rick? Like badass, the Rick that Negan scared off with the beard, who just couldn't give two shits. That Rick versus the end raiding the hospital Joel. That's what the two characters are, so yeah. Once again, just like strength, speed for these two characters is almost impossible to dictate who's one up over the other. And yes, I will do people being equal on things, because that's realistic, they can both be equal on things. I think both their characters, they're not super athletes, they're just basically normal fellas, but one's a police officer, one was military background. They're both fit lads, you know, but I don't actually think one has a speed advantage over the other in any shape or form. I might edge it towards Joel, but I wouldn't want to put that because I think that's unfair, because I don't actually know, and given their feats, I think it's similar levels of just general speed, so yeah. Now, durability. This is a fun one because they have both been impaled by shit, they've both had to got off this shit, but just general durability, I think Rick has it. This man cannot die. As we've seen with Joel, that isn't true. So overall, I'm going to definitely put that Rick has the more durability. I mean, he got saved by the helicopter. He's still alive. Like, he's willing to chop his own arm off and shit. So yeah, I have to put durability as Rick Grimes, because both in their primes, they're more or less unkillable, but I think Rick's just more unkillable is basically why he wins that. Now, weapons is a weird one to actually pick, because it's like they don't necessarily have specific weapons which are better than each other. For example, obviously Rick's weapon's going to be his revolver, and Joel's is just going to be his normal rifle, I guess. But in terms of iconic weapons, which is kind of pointless to put against in the battle, you'd put Rick because his weapon's more iconic. But in terms of actual like firepower and who's better at using their weapons, I guess it's kind of equal. I'm going to say Joel, given his military background, is probably more efficient with his weapons, but Rick's kind of an absolute monster when he's given a weapon as well. So they're both trained with weapons, police officer and military, so I might have to put this as equal as again. I know that's really annoying, but this is what happens with good equal fights. They're going to have stats which are just equal, and it's going to be an edging out on who's actually going to win. So either way, I think this is going to be very high difficulty for either fella, because they're both going to try kill each other very easily. Not very efficiently is the better word there, because they're both very good at killing and they're very tough. So yeah, it's going to be quite an equal fight. Coming back to it, plot armor and hacks, no doubt, is Rick Grimes. Once again, the man hasn't died. So yeah, bro, he just doesn't die. When he goes into that goddamn prison after his wife's killed and he takes out all the walkers, not to mention after Carl gets his eye shot out and he walks into the biggest horde, the biggest horde we'd seen till that point in The Walking Dead, and he just walks out there covered in guts, just killing everything, rallying everyone together. Bro just has hacks. In The Walking Dead, he's literally unkillable. So yeah, has to be Rick then. Experience is really annoying, because what I'm going to do here is rate this on overall battle experience, because it's a 1v1. And in that case, I'm going to give it to Joel, because although Rick has been in shootouts and things as a police officer, but an active working military brain, I'm going to say is better than Rick's job as a police officer. So that's just what I'm going to put as experience. And also the world in which the apocalypse world which Joel comes from. There's like the fireflies and the groups and the things you have to look out for, and his it's harder. I think The Last of Us world is harder to get through than the Walking Dead universe. Although, if you meet a new group in The Walking Dead, they're gonna try kill you or eat you or turn you. They're going to do something to you. So experience I actually could give it equal. I might. Actually, no, I'm not. I just think Joel, you'd have to put him as having more experience. So aura is a really weird one to try rate, because it's also, I merge it with feats, kind of like I did with the John Wick one. It's like based off the feats, their name becomes known, and that name then gives them the aura which they have. So for example, Abby, there's aura around Joel because of what happened to Abby. So she kind of fears him, and it looks off as this different sort of being that is scary to her. But I think Rick Grimes just has the aura because he's just fucking known. At one point or another, scared of this man. Or if you're not scared of him, you end up dying. So I think that alone gives him more aura than Joel. But in specific peak prime circumstance, then it's a really even battle, I think, just on pure aura. Like, the most aura Rick has, I think, is either when he's looking over the saviors and they're all like, they all have to listen to him because they're kind of scared of him and what he'll do. But he ends up killing just so many random people as well. Like, there's the husband in Alexandria, and I don't know how many people's arms has he chopped off just because they annoyed him and they got into a fight with him. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give it to Rick because he can be ridiculously unhinged. And also the unkillable feats that he's had, where he just walks out into a horde of walkers and couldn't give two shits. So yeah, I kind of have to give it to Rick there. And merging with that feat, it also has to go to Rick. Kind of, if you have more aura, you kind of end up having more feats in my book. There will be very specific circumstances where that isn't true, but for the most part, it's going to be true that you're going to get 2 points if you have more aura and you have more feats. They're going to come together. Because more feats, Rick has just been in so many situations where he should have died and he doesn't, or he kills a ridiculous amount of people. Like, obviously, the two main feats you're going to put is Joel soloing the entire of the hospital just by himself. And Rick, I'm going to say, is going out into the horde after Carl gets his eye out. Or even later in the newest Rick series, he solos almost everything that he comes into contact to. So, feats alone, it's kind... If you do it on those two biggest ones, Joel might win. However, overall feats, Rick has had way too many in the times that he's alive, because I think there's a similar year difference between them. It's been like 20 years of the apocalypse on both sides, or even longer, because Joel lives to what, like 60 before he's... And Rick is still alive, even though he's, what, late 50s? So, yeah, but I'm going to give that to Rick on just pure amount of feats. Yeah, just the amount of zombies he's killed just by himself, especially in the prison, where he just walks in there and kills God knows how many. And in the show version of The Last of Us, I think they simmer down the amount of people that Joel actually ends up killing. But I'm going to assume in the game version, he kills like well over 40 soldiers simply by himself. So that's what I'd give his max feat as. And Rick, I'm going to say he kills, God knows, over fucking 80 walkers just by himself in that one closed off prison bit. Just overall combat, hand-to-hand, rock'em sock'em skills, it is going to Joel, no doubt. This is one of the problems I have with the Walking Dead kind of, or with Rick's character. He is so shit at fighting. He is terrible. He is so wank. Go back, watch The Walking Dead, and actually look at every single time he has a fist fight. If he has a gun, I'm going to bet on him. If he has his fists and his fingernails and his toenails, he's going to lose every single goddamn time. The governor, Negan, random people, he just loses every fist fight. Specifically, Negan and the governor. Michonne had to save him when he was fighting the governor because he got his ass beat. Negan, he needed to convince him that for Carl's sake they needed to get together, then he shot him. So, yeah, he wins by pure plot armor and bullshit on those occasions, and he gets his ass beat in every single hand-to-hand instance. Please tell me if there is an instance where he doesn't get his ass handed to him in hand-to-hand combat, because there isn't. I know that for a fact. Even in the newest show, he still gets his ass beaten. Bro just takes damage. That's just what his character is, and it's one of the problems I have. He should be a much better melee fighter, especially when Jesus is there. Should have taught him some goddamn karate. Jesus karate, can't beat it. Well, it can be beaten. Rick lasted longer than him, even though he knows how to fight, so fuck me. Well, we have now come to a wonderful conundrum where it's now 7 points on 7 points. This is what I worried about. When two characters are kind of so equally compatible. Rick Grimes versus Joel Miller, both kind of similar feats and live in very similar worlds with similar experiences. So what I'm going to have to do is just put it down to opinion on who I think actually wins this fight. And who do I think wins? Rick Grimes, solely because of his ridiculous amount of plot armor. I do not think Joel has that much, and I don't know, Rick just wins every time for some reason. But if I don't know, I just have to say Rick. I do think Rick would win this fight, because in a pure 1v1, I think Rick just... his durability is so ridiculous, and if he does have the machete with the red handle, I think it's no diff. But yeah, I just think Rick would win this fight, but he would come out looking like a tomato that's been squashed. He would look like he's almost died. So yeah, or they might just kill each other both at the exact same time, and no one wins this fight, like I have put on 7 on 7. So who knows, but I think personally it would be Rick Grimes that wins this, because their attributes overall are comparable, and just their characters are very comparable. And but yeah, I think in a pure Prime versus Prime, Joel Miller versus Rick Grimes, I think Rick Grimes wins that fight with the highest of difficulties, almost completely and utterly equal. So yeah, let me know what you thought. Let me know who you think would actually win this fight, because I think it's a really interesting battle. And obviously, I've put it equal, so you could easily say one of them would win over the other. And in a realistic circumstance, Joel doesn't have that many people ending up saving him in most instances. I understand that I think he ends up taking more damage from the damage that he does take. For example, when he gets stabbed with the pole, he's kind of out for a few days, I believe, if I remember correctly. Whereas Rick still fights and he's still blowing shit up even when he's impaled. So just on those sorts of things and facts and just feats, I'm going to say Rick wins. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if there's any other fights you'd want, because I've seen Joel Miller versus Lee from the original Walking Dead game. Just thinking about it, I don't think that's as close to a fight as this. I think I would put that as Joel, but maybe I'd be surprised by what I end up finding if I actually did that. But yeah, let me know. Like and subscribe if you did like this. Please feel free to comment on who you actually think and your reasoning for that. I like interacting and watching what you people think. And yeah, thank you for watching, and boo, bye-bye.